Welcome back to the Morning Blend Extra. We're joined by one of our regulars here, Natalie Barber of Tobin, Ramon, and Barber. Natalie, great to have you back as always. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so first things first here, again, we've had you on the show here before. Never a bad time to talk about estate planning. So first things first, let's establish the basics here.
Okay.
What is an estate, and do I have an estate? The viewers at home, do they have an estate? What's sort of the situation with that?
Yeah, if you own anything, jewelry, house, vehicle, clothing, you have an estate. The right set of documents for your estate, that is very heavily dependent on what makes up what you own. So for example, if you rent and you don't own your own home, you could probably get away with doing just a will and not have to go to probate.
Gotcha.
The minute you own real estate, like you own dirt and like an improvement, like a home, or even if you just own land, you probably need a trust. Because
Gotcha.
with just a will or with no will, you're going to be subject to probate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then obviously I think too, you think estates, you think, oh, there's some,
right, like
some
you have
power
to be
behind
wealthy.
It. It's like, yeah, and it's like, no,
Yeah.
estate's kind of just really anything you own.
It's for regular people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. So
white collar, blue collar.
Yeah, whatever
any
collar, right?
Yeah.
No collar,
if
right?
you have a collar, then you're wearing clothing and you own something.
Yeah. And then, taking it a step further, then, what is estate planning?
Mm-hmm. So that's getting your documents set ahead of time so that you can decide where stuff goes when you die. Mm-hmm. You can decide who hands that stuff out. Excuse me. I should have taken a sip of water too before we started. You can decide who your preferred guardians are for minor children if you pass away and you've got kids that are under 18. So it's planning ahead, because if you don't plan, you kind of plan to fail.
Yeah, and plan to fail. That's definitely a good way to think about it. And obviously you just kind of mentioned there some of the basics about why you would want an estate plan, but taking things further, kind of getting a little bit more into the nitty-gritty of things, why do people really want that estate plan?
Because if you don't do your estate planning, if you don't say in your will or your trust where stuff goes when you die or who's in charge of your kids, the state of Illinois does have a default plan. So not making a decision, just failing to do your estate planning, just avoiding the subject, because frankly, it's not so fun to talk about it. We try to make it as painless as possible. When people leave and they say, well, that wasn't so bad, that's a win.
Yeah.
Because it's an uncomfortable subject.
Well, and especially, you have to think about the fact that, obviously talking about death is kind of already an uncomfortable topic, but I think for many, not knowing or thinking that things are going to be falling into the wrong hands, maybe after somebody's death, can be a much scarier thought.
Yes.
So, how often should you be going in to review these plans? Because this isn't necessarily something that you want to just, I don't know, maybe make a Hail Mary shot and say, oh, this is what I'm going to set things up. You want to be updating these estate plans and things like that kind of as you're going. And the sooner that you get things in, the better, if I'm not mistaken.
Agreed, because then you've got your foundation in place, and if we have little tweaks along the way, let's say you change your mind on who gets everything when you pass away, or you say, no, I think my oldest kid should be my first successor trustee, and then it should be, oh no, I'm going to switch the order. Those changes are easy once your documents exist, because frankly with technology today, we just have them in the computer.
Right.
We can change it, spit out that document, you sign it, and now your estate plan is updated.
Right.
I would say my clients check in with me about every 5 years.
Gotcha.
If it's been 10 years, if it's been a decade, probably life events have happened, like a birth, a death, come into money, retire, job change, you've moved, and you needed to already have been there yesterday.
Right.
You don't need to see me every year. It is free to come in and check in on your estate plan. So some people take me up on that, and they have it in their calendar and they come see me. They've got a regular recurring event.
You probably love to see them, but it's probably not necessary every single year.
It's not, but my clients are my friends are my clients. So honestly, we chat a little bit and we look at their documents. Usually nothing needs to be done because it's only been about 11, 12 months, but it's nice to see them. And then sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes, they're doing this yearly thing and something comes up in conversation and I say, oh no, that's a trigger for let's change this document.
Yeah.
So you can't think about it enough. On the flip side of that, a well-drafted estate plan, apart from preferences that change, legally, if that document is drafted by an attorney who knows what they're doing, all of the backups are built in, all of the contingencies are built in, so that technically you only have to do it the one time.
Oh, very
So no matter who dies in what order, no matter what life brings you, there's a plan. Because the worst thing that can happen, I think, is that you don't have enough backups or a contingency to the contingency, and then you don't want your stuff to go as unclaimed property to the state of Illinois. There's literally a division, and there are hundreds of thousands of dollars of money and assets that are just sitting there.
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously looking closer at sort of what you guys do, how do you guys sort of guide people through this process? Because like we said, you know, talking about death can be a touchy subject for a lot of people.
Yeah, so we try to make it as easy and smooth as possible. You come in for your free consultation. There's no obligation. It's just a conversation. You can choose your estate planning package. We have them divided up into essentially 6 levels. And then we set an appointment about 3 weeks out. You come back, we review the documents. If you like them, we sign them. If we need to spend our time making changes, we do that. And then if you have a trust, not only does the trust need to exist, we've got to put everything in the trust. That's called funding your trust.
Yeah.
So my trust clients then have a third meeting. Again, this is all a flat fee, so we can take it as slow or as fast as they want, where we have that conversation and we say, okay, this is what you're doing with this account. Okay, we already put your house in trust, you know, check that box.
Gotcha.
We essentially make up a we call it our trust funding memorandum.
Yeah.
It's a fancy to-do list.
Yeah.
And then
a little rubric, kind of all the
yes.
bases you got to cover.
Yeah, and I make recommendations, and then the client can carry those out, or we can do it for them or with them.
Yeah.
And then you're an estate plan client with us. You've paid your flat fee, and any changes to that document suite, to that set of documents, is free.
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously, just like we talked about, you know what happens if you don't have an estate plan.
Yeah.
You don't know where things are going to go after, you know, eventually things do, you know, the clock hits midnight, I suppose.
Yeah,
So.
the state of Illinois has a really strange default estate plan. I think it's strange. For a traditional family, let's say you're married, you've got 2.5 kids or whatever the average is. One spouse dies, half goes to your spouse, half goes to the kids. No matter how old they are, no matter how much you like them. And it's strange, right?
Yeah.
You would think the default would be everything to the surviving spouse.
Right.
Then when we're both passed away, the kids can inherit it in equal shares.
Right.
That is not the default.
Interesting.
So that's the number one reason to at least get a will.
Yeah, certainly very interesting. All right, well, hey, that is all the time that we have here for our interview, Natalie. Obviously, some wonderful information, and thank you so much again for coming onto the show as always.
My pleasure.
Yes, absolutely. And as you can see on the screen right now, if you're looking for some help putting together an estate plan, you can check out Natalie and everybody else over there at Tobin, Ramon, and Barber at 530 South State Street in Belvedere, or you can head to tobinramon.com. Natalie, thank you so much again for coming on.
Thank you for having me. And the best way to make an appointment is probably to call.
Yes, all right, certainly very interesting there.